Well, our next session is based on optimizing customer experience through 360-degree digital transformation, collaboration between humans and machines. For this, I would like to call upon the stage Mr. Harshavardhan Chauhaan, VP Chief Marketing and Omnichannel Officer, Spencer's Retail and Nature Basket. Please, guys, put your hands together. Mr. Harshavardhan Chauhaan is a leading figures in retail, e-commerce, and market. He is organized among India's top professionals as Chief Marketing and Omni-Channel Officers at Spencer's Retail and Nature's Basket. He spearheads retail disruption for millions of customers. He has a strong background in strategy, having worked with prominent companies like Shopclues, Godrej, and Accenture. He is also an alumni of prestigious institutions such as said Business School, University of Oxford. I would like to call upon the stage Mr. Harshavardhan Chauhaan once again.
Good to go. Thank you. I hope this is audible. I think I can keep my phone here. Thanks a lot, Sridhar. I think we've got a great momentum for everybody here who's gone through the difficult Delhi and Gurgaon traffic and still have made it successfully to the event. I think that's a great start to the event. I think I remember in June, I was at one of the events in Singapore, right? And everybody comes there at sharp 8 a.m. And I was wondering, how is that people are leaving such a busy city, their homes, and arriving at a place sharp at 8 a.m., but that's public infrastructure. But I'm saying more than public infrastructure, what is really commendable here is the work ethic that all of us have come here in time. So to start with, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Harshavardhan Chauhaan, and really glad to be here. I'm currently working as Chief Marketing and Omnichannel Officer for Spencer's Retail, which happens to be India's one of the biggest supermarkets present in around 35 cities. Nature's Basket, which essentially is India's, right now I can safely say, only food gourmet player, largely with a national presence, and also managing a portfolio of D2C brands, which I've incubated during the COVID, like India's premium gifting portal called thegiftstudio.com. And of course, most recently, we've launched something in the infant care space, which is called gigglesandwiggles.co.in. I really believe, and I started figuring it out over a couple of years. I started with Accenture, with some companies like ITC, Lever, spent time with Godrej, was instrumental in building India's 5th biggest unicorn, Shopclues.com, which we exited to an eBay subsidiary. One of the biggest digital transformation journeys for DLF shopping malls, which you would have seen. And finally, what I thought is I must pick up is dabble into hyperlocal commerce, which is solving for grocery across the country. And if you really look at the last 10 decades of retail in the country, it's been nothing but a great journey of learning, both professionally and a great experience, a true consumer delight even as consumers. Look at the number of brands we've been exposed to in the last 3 years in the pandemic. And that's the rise and rise of D2C, disruption of distribution in its true sense. Maybe in this morning you've figured out some ad or during the pandemic times of a coffee brand called Sleepy Owl, which you never knew about, right? Or some wild honey brand, or some brand which is giving you apparel on eco-friendly fabric, etc. If I go back in 2000, I think we started with classifieds in this country, the early advents of Naukri, etc. We went on to see the first modern retail shopping malls come up. Then we saw the rise and rise of e-commerce. And in last 3 years, we've seen something really unprecedented, which is quick commerce. Now everything is coming to your doorsteps. The world is coming to your doorsteps. And as consumers, we in retail parlance say globally we have gone through a semi-permanent change. And that's an event which happens once in a decade. It's like a habit which is practiced, gets ingrained in 21 days. And now here are consumers who have been homebound for years and months, which essentially means getting everything delivered at your doorsteps is a habit that has become very semi-permanent with consumers. and that has led to the disruption of the traditional distribution, which was erstwhile the monopoly of big FMCG players. But now it's an equal opportunity, let's say, for example, to the 61 million micro, small, and medium enterprises, and any entrepreneur, any new brand that comes into the market has the equal opportunity and ability to reach to its consumers. So we've seen that part of quick commerce also. And if you look around, I think we have, and we are going, not just in India, South Asia, and globally, into a world as consumers where I call it truly connected consumer experiences. So starting from consumer experience, I think Sridhar put it very nicely. One of the quotes of Seth Godin saying, how does one understand customer experience? So to start with, I had this analogy which I say that I really find my job to be really difficult. Now, how is that? Then I started by questioning the fundamental question, which is a difficult job in the world? And somebody told me, I don't know what's a difficult job in the world, but I think keeping your wife happy is pretty difficult. How many people agree? I think half the population should agree, right? Especially the guys in the plus 35s and 40s, maybe, yeah? Depends, there could be some exceptions. My job, I said that it's really difficult than that. My job is to keep everyone else's wife happy. Now, I'm in a grocery business, which essentially means that everybody's got an opinion. The fruits are not fresh, the vegetables are really not great. I cannot find the products and they are not neatly kept in the aisle. The discoverability is not at par. The packets are too small or maybe too large, and that's a grocery business. So 3 years at Spencer's Retail, we remained operational, and we saw globally for the first time the industry being divided into two halves of essentials and non-essentials. And here we are running a COVID-free supply chain, not shut, not even a single store for even a single day in last 4 years consistently. So coming back to saying what is consumer experience, and with the same analogy saying if it is difficult to make your wife happy, I think when you go back home today in the evening and you stopped asking her in the morning because you're in a rush that how was your day yesterday, and you get a reaction when you go back home in the evening, that's a feedback of a bad customer experience. So I think what is customer experience, to understand that everything that a consumer does, right from discovering your brand to interacting with your brand, having a full cycle of engagement, and even after he has consumed your goods or services, and you could not be the traditional goods and services player, you could be a MarTech player, you could be a SaaS player, you could really be on the cutting edge of tech. Even consumers who are using ChatGPT are going through a certain kind of consumer experience. So even after you have used a particular product and service, it really depends how is the post-purchase engagement, and that also comes into the realm of customer experience. Think about the fact that when you were paying for an international transaction through one of your credit or debit cards, and it did not go through, and you received a message saying that for certain reasons we could not process your order, and if you really want to do it, please dial a certain call center number and validate your transaction for it to let go through, right? And somehow you're not able to do that, and that's a bad customer experience. So to me, I think in my professional journey, I've put 3 big pillars to customer experience. The first and foremost which I put across is satisfaction. Very simply put, very simply understood, is saying no matter what, it's something really subjective, and that's the big thing about customer experience. There is a large amount of subjectivity, and you could put the plethora of metrics around it, right from your NPS to whatever you want to put in, net promoter scores, but there would still be a certain amount of non-quantifiable part of the experience, which completely is a prerogative of the consumer himself or herself. And hence, satisfaction is one big pillar. The second big pillar of consumer experience is consistency and convenience at the same time. The ability for a brand to ensure that you have a predictable experience every second time the consumer interacts with you falls into the realm of consistency. It's about saying that it's a promise from the brand. What can the consumer expect the next time? You could be a traditional restaurant, you could be a QSR player, you could be a self-service kiosk, you could be a completely automated plug and play SaaS platform, right? From the examples of Shopify to the upcoming a lot of subscription based AI tools. But predictability coming from consistency of delivery is one important lever. And finally, convenience. I think as we talk about, convenience is taking a whole new meaning across various cohorts and segments of consumers, and it means different things to different people. Now, what is convenience? Getting products delivered at your doorstep in 15 minutes through Zepto is convenience for somebody. Getting a predictable delivery of some apparel, maybe the next day delivery through Amazon or a same day delivery, can account for convenience for certain set of consumers. Getting a product delivered in 7 days to 10 days is also could be accepted as part of convenience, or it could just be saying that a platform just enables discoverability of products, does not deliver it, does not promise to get it to consumers' doorsteps, but even by enabling discoverability, it essentially provides convenience. Let's translate that into the world of SaaS, right? In the world of SaaS, convenience means a whole lot of things to different set of consumers. In a SaaS ecosystem, essentially, your customers are not the end customers of the brand's products and services, because your customer is the brand itself, right? Most SaaS players are catering to a particular brand, whatever they are solving. They're solving for personalization, they're solving for deep data analytics, they are solving for certain offshoots of AI and ML, or they could be solving for certain offshoots of process automation or process efficiency, whatever that could be. Your end customer essentially happens to be the brand. And in that case, consistency and convenience essentially means how easy is your technology stack in terms of being plug and play. And I'm sure players who are representing SaaS companies understand the difficult challenge of interacting with India brands where their technology stack is completely haywire, right? I think you would have experienced technology stacks right from the early 90s, kind of very redundant frameworks being used, to some people who are really working at the cutting edge and are really working at open source, AI, plug and play kind of things. So easy integrations to really hard, difficult integrations. And that also falls into the realm saying, as a SaaS player, what kind of convenience you've built in while you are interacting with a whole lot of brands to get your product in, right? And with that, there is a big trend that is upcoming, which I should plug in here, which is, so let's say what disrupts SaaS? If that's the big question in the room, then everybody is saying, guys, SaaS in itself is a disruption. What could disrupt SaaS? The problem with SaaS is essentially, as I talked about, one, the ability to seamlessly integrate with your customers, and in this case, the customers are brands themselves. The second big thing about SaaS is data privacy, right? One of the biggest challenges SaaS companies are facing is saying, in most conversations with brand, are you going to take our data back to your cloud? Are you going to solve it there? I need an NDA, so on and so forth. What about data privacy? Is it GDPR compliant? GDPR is not applicable in India, and you're getting in those conversations. So the fundamental question is, do you need a platform which essentially takes the data from a brand and you solve it outside the ecosystem of the brand itself? And that's where a newer concept emerges, which is called not SaaS, but something called as SOS, not the medical terminology, which SOS essentially is solve on site. Think ChatGPT, what essentially it's doing. It does not take data from consumers, or it does not consume data from consumers apart from the briefing that you give. But what it does, it uses its AI models to solve a problem on site at that moment, right? SaaS players who would work towards covering this journey and transforming from becoming a SaaS to a solve on site model would have a higher degree of success, and that's something that's the leading emerging technology globally. Moving on from convenience and consistency, what's the third big pillar of customer experience? That's connected consumer journeys. I essentially call it saying the future of retail globally is phygital. And that's what the core nature of consumers are. Consumers inherently are omnichannel by behavior. Look at all of us. I think half the audience are into their screens and digital phones. That's the digital world you're present in. Other half of the audience is present there physically. At any point in time, the future consumers would be dabbling between both the worlds. So what choice does that leave for the brands? And that's connected consumer experience, saying the future of retail, or let me say the future of consumer globally, is being truly phygital. Now again, phygital is not a word you'll find in Oxford Dictionary. It's essentially, Oxford Dictionary is anyway smaller. You need to keep adding on to it. So it's a portmanteau between physical and digital, which essentially means the ability of brands to be present at the cusp of physical and digital. What does that translate into business use cases? I'm sure we've heard about business models like what Walmart does, BOPIS, book online, pickup in store, or which is a curbside pickup. Or you could basically say, can I buy online and return in store, right? Or could it happen the other way? Can I pick up from your store and can I book my returns online, and can it be a doorstep pickup, right? Can your discoverability happen of your brands and products in the offline world? Can the purchases be made online, or vice versa, or even more complicated journeys where you could have discovered a product from the multitude of conversations and social engagements that you are part of, and could that product be rarely experienced in the physical world in an experience center? That's in the realm of retail, but in the realm of phygital, it means much more. It means brands, technologies being present at the cusp of human interactions and automation, right? I was again, what I experienced most recently is one of the installations at the Changi airport, which essentially is a robotic arm which makes a coffee and serves it to you there and then. And you could really see it from the glass window how exactly it's prepared. It's not the art of making coffee. The great thing about that, the coffee really tasted great. And that's not my feedback, that's a feedback that I saw from a lot of consumers saying, this is one of the best coffees, best tasting coffees that we've ever seen. That machine is called Ella. And it's something patented, which one of the technology leading partners have built it. What they're trying to do is essentially saying, can I create a truly phygital experience? Being served a coffee is a normal thing. We've seen and experienced that as consumers. But to what extent can technology intervene, and can you basically be at the cusp of human intervention and automation, leverage robotics and physical experiences to create an experiences which could be an awe moment, which could essentially become a core differentiation. And in that case, look at the moat of that particular company. They are not one of the most differentiated coffee players, that's Starbucks or maybe somebody else. They are not one of the best in robotics, that's another company is making robos in Japan like Oshima and etc. So what's their consumer value proposition, what's their moat? Their moat is picking up both and ensuring they are seamlessly connected to give a continuous and consistent consumer experience journey. And that way we realize that in business parlance, when you invest to somebody or you go to an investor, what the usual question is, what's different that you're doing? I think sometimes in boardrooms and even in offices, your immediate boss or anybody can ask about an idea saying that what's different? I've heard about it before. And here's a big learning saying that for a change, apart from product, apart from pricing, consumer experience has the ability to become a differentiator that can really make you a market leader. And this is a great example. Neither serving coffee was a differentiator, neither robotics was a differentiator, but connecting both and provided a connected, seamless experience became a true differentiated consumer value proposition. So these three pillars, essentially, starting from that, the ability to solve for satisfaction, the ability to provide convenience and consistency at the same time, and the ability to be at the cusp of physical and digital, create truly connected consumer journeys, essentially are the three big pillars of solving for the future of ever evolving consumer experience, digital experience. Moving ahead from that, where does it further translate into personalization? And I think we've heard about personalization a lot, but as consumers, anybody in the room can say that there's more talk than action. As consumers, we haven't seen any personalization that happens. Like even the products that get recommended to me by Amazon, they are by the virtue of the fact that he has my transactional journey. But when I'm not interacting with my phone, he's not understanding my physical context. Like right now, what should really be happening is people who are leaving from here, and there's a great Worldmark nearby, which has great apparel stores and other F&B stores. Amazon should really pick up, or maybe a Zomato, or maybe another restaurant aggregator should really pick up your physical context, saying when would you be leaving this conference room, when are you likely to be free, and could he really nudge an offer or a notification or any communication that could make you land at the Worldmark and maybe experience one of the things that you're really interested in. And that's again saying that to what degree would you solve for personalization? In theoretical parlance, we say always solve for single voice of consumer, single view of consumer, and strive for a segment of one. And with the segment of one, we've got the one bell. So, but that's theoretical. But in terms of personalization, I think where we are moving is a change that I see personally that's coming really, really fast. And I think not that part of the technology was not prevalent, but I think the distribution has become easy. Our access to AI models is going to become much more faster, and the adoption is going, and it's anybody guessed, at a much accelerated rate, which essentially means that everything that we do in the world of business, right from making presentations, to analyzing data, to creating content, to disseminating content, to producing content, a lot of that will have a strong intervention of AI, which is good, which essentially means that we would possibly have more time for better things in terms of efficiency and productivity. So with that, I think I'll follow the suit, and as Sridhar had left us with a great quote from Seth Godin, I'll leave with a quote of mine for a change, which essentially means that if there has to be a big takeaway, the future of retail essentially is moving towards being truly phygital, creating truly connected consumer experiences, and the ability of brands to reside at the cusp of physical and digital at the same time. Thank you, gentlemen. Really appreciate all of you coming here, and really glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.